So Anil, I sort of believe that, you know, I have the idea in the shower. I go and I do the unit economics with a glass of beer and a pizza, and I figure out whether there's a there in terms of this thing. And then sort of like the next step is um, starting a marketing narrative, right? So the very beginning of a company is a marketing narrative. And part of that early stuff is to understand customer problem fit. Find hundreds of customers in different subsegments that I would deal with. So when I hear personalization of marketing, I'm thinking in that context, which is around identifying sub markets. Can you be clear in your introduction about what a personalization means in the context that you're using? And then we'll go from there. So introduce yourself, dive into the talk, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, about me. So I'm Anil Batra. I've been in digital marketing and analytics field for pretty much 20 years. Started back in 2007, started a company in web analytics consulting, and that we sold to an agency in Bellevue, which was called Ascentium. I think they're called Smith now. And I worked for several agencies and startups. I've started another company, .com, way back in, this was 99, 2000 timeframe when I first started dabbling with it. 2001, started an Indian dating and matrimonial website, which I sold to another company, the database basically. Kept the whole structure, but sold the database back then. And have been dabbling since then with a bunch of other ideas. So right now my focus is on training people on digital analytics and marketing. So I have a membership site. I heard somebody was doing the membership stuff. So I'm dealing a lot with how to grow that membership and drive people to become members. So that's what I've been doing. A lot of personalization, a lot of data and analytics. I run workshops for corporations as well. And just love teaching. So there's a consulting aspect and teaching aspect. So I do a lot of teaching. And so what I'm presenting today is basically a bunch of stuff that I've done with various organizations, as well as, the stuff I've been doing on my own within Optizet. So we'll talk about personalization. I'm going to get to your definition. Sub market. Yes, it's finding that person. I mean, really, the whole goal of personalization is to get to one-to-one communication. As Bob was saying, hey, I don't want to waste somebody's time. That is where I want to have the conversation. But so we'll talk. I don't want to start talking about that right now without going into my presentation.
Yeah, so feel free to go into your presentation.
Okay, so you guys, let me share my screen here. Share screen. Oh, where did my share screen go? I assume you guys don't see anything, right? Yeah, right. So here, why am I not seeing shares? Okay, it's right here. I'm doing two screens. All right, let me know when you see it.
Yep, looks good. Well, actually, I see that you started sharing, but it's black. There you go. Lovely picture.
I still look the same though.
Still look the same.
All right, so what's personalization? Let's start with that. So before I even go to that, I'm going to give you a backstory of personalization, my experience with personalization, and personalization has always been there. Since the beginning of humankind, I think we have all been, some level of personalization is there. We know our friends, we know people, we just have that level of communication. Even in business, this is not a picture from there, but I grew up in India. My dad owned a clothing store. It was in a town where he graduated from. He started his business right there, and he knew a lot of people by name. So it was a small town community. There were a bunch of people who were like permanent residents there. So he knew everybody. He knew their preferences. As they walked into the store, he had everything logged in his brain. Like, who is this person, what their income is, where they are from, like originally, when they came to this town, where they came from, their family background, bunch of stuff he just gathered over a period of time in his brain. And when somebody walked in, he knew exactly, like, which products they're interested in, what colors they like, what will trigger their interest, etc. So I watched him. I didn't think about personalization at that point, but I'm like, okay, this is the way he does business. But when I started looking at online personalization, when it started to come, it was like, this is exactly what he was doing back then. He knew for repeat buyers, which products trigger their interest, what kind of clothing material they mostly buy, which colors do they like, bunch of all these questions he knew. And some of this, if you can consider today's word, it's PII. He had all that information. It's personally identifiable information. And people loved what he was doing because he could exactly tell what, or he could exactly show them what they wanted. That was personalization. He knew who this person is, their preferences. Even when there was somebody new who he had never interacted with, he did real-time conversations to find out what their reaction is, how they are looking at stuff, what products they are gravitating towards, and figure out exactly which will trigger them to buy. That's what's happening offline. And I'm not sure how it was in the US, but that's how, then I looked across, there were, even in India, that wasn't happening back then in a lot of places, but if you live in a small town, it's personal. That's what he was doing. So same thing then got applied to now in the online world. We have tons of data. So in that scenario, he gave customers exactly what they want. And this was personalization. When John, you're talking about sub market, he knew exactly, like, this is the sub market that will buy this product. So when he was going and buying his products from wholesalers, he knew who this will be and how much he will be able to sell. So it was that accurate. And definitely he had some, excess material for others to buy, but he knew exactly how many things he needed for that particular material. That was personalization, right? So now, when you think about it, personalization is the act of tailoring. We collect tons of data nowadays. Is an act of tailoring a service or product based on individual or group need. When Bob was talking about individual, in certain scenario, in a B2B scenario, when you are tailoring to an individual because you have a very small pool of people. You don't want to waste their time. But there was somebody running an e-commerce store. It's very hard to get to one individual person, but you have to think in terms of, because it's very hard to scale. Technology is there, but it's little expensive for most of the small startups to buy that technology or buy that service. So you have to think about groups. So these are your markets, like who is that target market that you want to reach. And then personalization does not only mean recommending right products. We've seen Amazon, John mentioned about Amazon, and they keep hounding you with the same products, or other companies just promoting products. It's not about recommending right products, but it's also having relevant conversation and timely conversation so that people can make the right decision. You want to drive them to make the right decision. People do not buy stuff immediately. They do not take actions immediately. When I'm selling my courses, right, the same thing happens. I have seen people taking action after a year or more than a year being on my list. They don't buy the membership immediately. They don't engage with that. They are slowly consuming the content, and I'm sending them content that'll drive them further to take that action. So it's building that relationship is what personalization is all about. As I mentioned before, we're collecting tons of data, and there are over 8,000 or so marketing technology tools out there in the market. All of them, even if you look at this, which is very hard to read, you've got the data tools, but all of these other tools are collecting data, right? And when they're collecting data, that data sits in those tools. It sits in silos. And the key is to bring all of that together so you can create a personalized experience. And this is one of the biggest challenges that's out there is how do you deal with all these technologies that are doing different things. Maybe you're pushing your links through Bitly, then you have Google Analytics, which is collecting your data about user behavior on your site. Then you have MailChimp sending out emails, and then you're running ads on Facebook and Google. But all those things you're running, they're collecting data, and you can use all that data to create a personalized experience. Back to my example of my dad, it was his brain processing all this information. He wasn't writing it anywhere. He definitely had sales record for people, but he knew exactly, hey, they bought this. I'm not sure how, but his memory was very sharp. He knew exactly when somebody bought something. That maybe that was just the way of doing business for him, but he was processing all that information, taking in real-time feeds as well as historical data to personalize the experience, product recommendation, the conversations. I mean, he didn't get selling directly. He was having personal conversations with those people. And he was warming those leads up or whatever, the customer walking in. And that is personalization. So having timely conversation about the topics that customers care, and then giving them the right message. So that is what personalization is. And do customers like personalization? Isn't this invasion of privacy? We are seeing that today, everybody's talking about privacy. We've been talking about privacy for years. But when I started my dealing with digital data back in 99, 98 timeframe, I think that's when I started. We were actually dropping email addresses in cookies when it first started, in cookies, which were being collected in IaaS logs, which is the Microsoft server. And those log files that we processed to figure out who this person was. And we didn't have any concept of personalization back then, no concept of web analytics. We were just taking that data, putting it in a warehouse to understand what was going on, who's the customer that's coming on our website. Very static website back then, but just had one form or so. So isn't this invasion of privacy? Today we're talking about privacy, cookie tracking, everything is under scanner. So I pulled some studies out to see if there is people do like personalization or not, and what's happening. So fact about personalization, 90%, and this is, who was this? I should put a source in here. I thought I did, but I will put that source in here. This was a study done by some company. Again, I'll put that link. 90% of the marketers believe personalization is the future. 4% of customers get frustrated when content has nothing to do with them, right? They are frustrated. They want personalization. 48% of consumers spend more when their experience is personalized. So that's why we need to do personalization, and it does make sense to do it. Here are some stats from Forbes. There were about 50 stats. I pulled like 4 of them here for you. 83% of the consumers are willing to share their data to create a more personalized experience. And if you're looking for more stats, you can go here and you will be able to see all the stats they pulled out from different studies. 70% of millennials are frustrated with brands sending irrelevant emails. Right? So this is Smarter HQ. 74% of customers feel frustrated with their website when their website content is not personalized. So emails, personalization, recommendation, people are willing to give the data. And as a startup, you should be collecting data, which will help you make your product better, which will help you make you understand your customers better. If you're not collecting the data, you're missing a lot of insights that you can gain from here. So you should do that from get-go. Collect that data so you can understand what's working, what's not working. 90% of the US consumers find marketing personalization very or somewhat appealing. So all these studies tell us that personalization is something that consumers love. But they get frustrated, but John was also when they get irrelevant stuff. What can you personalize? You can personalize your website. And I'm going to give you an example, and I'll also walk you through that process, those who are starting out. So the way I kept this presentation is at that level that those who are starting out can start to do personalization on their website today. Like, go do it right after this. And you can do email personalization, you can do ads personalization, you can do print other stuff as well, YouTube ads, all that can be personalized. But we're going to start with today. I'm going to be even walking you through the process and the tool you can use to personalize a website experience. We'll talk about email and ads personalization as well, though I'm not going to go into the details of those, but I'll give you enough points depending on how much time we have. So data for personalization. What can you use? You need data, right? Personalization means understanding your customers, understanding who they are, whether you have done business with them or you haven't done business with them, whether they are coming for the first time to you. You can use lots of data that's available to you, as either you're collecting it or you can buy from third parties. So there is demographic data, firmographic data, behavioral data, and I'll go into the details of these, CRM data, contextual data, and there is another contextual data. The reason I put this, some people, talk about CRM data as either demographic or behavioral. I've kept that as separate. We'll talk about that. And there are two types of contextual data that you can use. We'll go into detail. So demographic data, pretty straightforward. Age, gender, even like the name you can put in there, location, family size, type of house they own, type of car they own. You can use all that data to personalize the experience. Now, it's not one-to-one personalization, but it is better than bombarding everybody with the same message or same things. Use these to figure out what are you targeting. Years ago, I wrote this example. I think this was back in 2007. Yeah, it's been 12 years, 13 years, 14 years actually, maybe, about Nordstrom. So there was a guy in my office. He was used to shop at Nordstrom. All the time he was shopping men clothing. He showed me an email because he knew that I was interested in personalization and I was always talking about personalization stuff. He showed me an email which came from Nordstrom, which were, hey, women clothing 50% off. And that was totally irrelevant to him because he didn't shop ever for women clothing. And that was a waste of his time, waste of their resources, bombarded his, or cluttered his inbox. You don't want to be in that situation. Definitely things have improved since then. I'm not sure, like always thought Nordstrom was very data driven, but turned out it wasn't. Maybe there was some other attribute was going on. We'll talk about that, how you can avoid those kind of things. But you can use all these things to your benefit to have a right conversation. Then there is firmographic. This is all about the company. In a B2B scenario, you want to talk about the organization. So your company name, industry, number of employees, the location, annual revenue, stage of the company, all those things, or other stuff. I came across another company recently. They had maybe like 50 attributes for a given organization they were collecting. So you can use all that data to create a personalized experience that speaks to them. And I've seen, and even like the IP address to map it back to that company. I've seen a chat software that actually miscategorized me, and I'm not sure how they map their IP address, because you can take an IP address, map it back against a database to find which company the person works for. But they mapped it, and I think maybe it resolved to Comcast or something. I don't know how. And they just assumed that I was working for that organization. So you can avoid those kind of things by making sure the data that you're collecting is clean and data is reliable. Then you have behavioral data. Behavioral data is all about users' behavior with your product, your services, your company. For example, online space, whether it's an app or your website, and generally, source of visit, where are these people coming from? Huge, makes a huge difference. If you have partners, you can use that information to figure out they're coming from our partner, and we should be able to treat them differently or give them a different message than those who are not coming from our partners. Page view viewed on the site, what pages they're looking at, what content they're reading, where they're spending time, all that stuff can give you clues on what this person is interested in. Huge, huge, huge for you to know which stage they are in. You don't want to give everybody same generic message. Product views. Amazon uses that. What product you're viewing, give you relevant products based on what you have viewed or what you have purchased. Product added to cart but not purchased. You can use that too. They didn't, and that's retargeting. You see ads following you everywhere. Right? These ads that are following you everywhere are based on products that you haven't purchased. Now, many companies make a mistake that they don't notify their retargeting platforms that somebody has purchased a product and stop hounding them. And that's a mistake that you can avoid. So look at the product purchased, but also tag the users who have, look at the products they have added to cart, but also tag the people who have purchased so that you can remove from that list. This is where, when I talked about 8,000 products, marketing technology products, this is where the gap is. The gap is somebody else is tracking, some other tool is tracking that information. However, there is another tool that is retargeting, and those don't talk in real time. That is the problem that happens. Company like Amazon, that should not be an excuse. But somebody starting out, sure, there could be a lag because it takes a lot of efforts to build those things internally or find a tool. It's expensive. Those tools are expensive. If you're going to build on your own, it takes time. But you can do tiny bit things to make it personalized. And there are ways to do that. Product purchased, time spent on site, who's spending, who's engaging with us. Look at that. That is a big that's a huge information that tells you who's interested, who's not. If people are not spending time on your site, they just come and go. Either they are repeat and they know exactly where to go, or they didn't find what they're looking for. When you look at the data, let's say somebody is coming from a Facebook ad. They come, they spend only maybe a second and leave. That means there is a mismatch, right? That tells you there is a mismatch. So you lost that customer back. You can create a personalized experience for that person and retarget them so that you can see the relevant message. Maybe this time you have a refined message. So look at that. Somebody who's spending a lot of time and still not purchasing. Look at their stuff, create that segment, and then reach out to them. Frequency of visits, how frequently they are coming. And also there is, I think that's missing, is recency of visit, like how recent they were on your site. You don't want lapsed customer. Depending on your products and services, you might want customers to come every week, every day, maybe after a month. So look at that as well to figure out what that recency is. Then you have the CRM data. I think this is the data that combining with on-site. So forget about even like age and firmographic. B2B firmographic makes sense. Demographic to an extent makes sense when you have a wide variety of product. Let's say you have, you cater to a bunch of, you male, female, or you have 8 different age groups, then it makes sense to segment that. But CRM is where the power is. When I say CRM, this is your backend data that you're collecting about customer. It could be the data that you are collecting. And if you're not collecting, you should be. And also augmented with the third-party data. So the data is like products purchased. What's their product history? Going back to my dad's example, he knew what products people were purchasing. It was all sitting in his brain database. And he knew and what next logical product for them is, or what similar product is. That he was telling them that. So product purchase is huge. Loyalty, how loyal they are. Loyalty can drive more sales. You want to give new product offering to maybe loyal customers or some discount to loyal customers. Those kind of things you can drive. Starbucks uses loyalty to drive that. Recency of purchase, again, recency of visits in behavioral, recency of purchase in CRM. They came to the site, but they haven't recently purchased. You don't want them to lapse. Big one for startups, in when you're expecting people to come every day, every month, every week, something like that. You have to look at recency of purchase. If there is a lapse, go and send them a personalized message using that information and the other data you have. Frequency of purchase. Bargain hunters, you can track them as bargain hunters or non-bargain hunters, like early adopters or not. You can just go and say, these are early adopters. I have a new product, new offering, new tool, new gadget. I'm going to reach out to them, their interest and their hobbies. CRM is where your power is. This again sits in your backend. So let's say if a user comes to your website and you have a data sitting in here, I know this person who just landed on my site is a loyal customer. Those two systems have to talk, right? And that is the thing that's expensive to build. It takes time to build or buy. But there are ways, I'm going to show you, there are ways you can do it today on your website. And then you have contextual data. So contextual data is all about the context the user is in. And there is also a bigger context. So I have labeled them as contextual 1 and contextual 2. I'm not sure what the real term is, like how these guys, Nielsen and all those guys are defining them. But I see a bunch of definitions coming in. Some say this is contextual, the others totally even ignore that. So we'll talk about that. Operating system the user is using, that contextual. Where are they? Windows, Mac, makes a difference. If you're selling accessories, you're selling products that are related to those, that can make a difference. Device type model they're using, right? If you are Amazon, you're selling these cases, covers for phones, you can use that information immediately to say, here are the covers that will make sense. You just sort your products in a different way using the information you have. Browser type they're using. Time of the day, B2B during the work hours makes sense. B2C, maybe off hours make sense. Weekends, off hours make sense. The B2C might make sense. Location is huge. You can use location to personalize that experience. People from Seattle see these products versus people from Chicago see these products. Now, one thing which I talk about later is not to use just these in isolation, combining them together. As I was saying, you can combine website data with your CRM data. To start with something, but to grow, scale, and really unleash the power of personalization, combine a bunch of data. The issue starts to become when you don't combine that data, particularly if somebody has purchased a product and you're using the product views information, but not somebody who has purchased the product. Or you use demographic, I'm a male, but I generally shop for my wife. If you don't look at my purchase history and see that I purchased these products for my wife, and you start to just cater me based on my demographic, that's going to be a mismatch. So you have to combine these. These are some simple examples. They get complicated, like the stage the person is in. If they've already downloaded 2 white papers, you don't want to show the same white paper to them. Maybe you show the next logical conversation that you have with them. So think about those things. So that takes planning, that takes data integration. So you have to combine them all together to really unleash that power. Then there is contextual part 2. Contextual part 2 is, again, the bigger context, the weather. Many organizations have started using that. We use that for a big retailer in US, in the world, the biggest retailer, I guess I can say. We use that, the weather information, to see which products will make sense. When it rains in Seattle, you might not want to show the umbrellas, or at least in Redmond, Bellevue, I know nobody's walking with umbrellas. But if it rains in Chicago, then you might want to show the umbrellas, right? So that's the difference. You have to combine what people are buying, when, and when these weather conditions happen. But that for that, you need the data to understand, hey, when did we sell these products? And then you have to overlay the other data. So you can use weather is a huge one. Season, not just the weather, but you can do it at season level. It's fall, it's summer, those kind of things. You can do events, back to school, football games that are happening. I think Home Depot does some of this stuff as well, which is around football games, local teams, and they start to promote that stuff. So if you go on their site, I think it changes based on your location and the event that's happening. So some of the pages do change. So you can combine those together to come up with like, how do you personalize that experience? Again, you're not doing one-to-one personalization, but you're giving something that still has a personal touch. World events, Olympics are happening. You know, if you know about me and I go to a sports page, I'm a cricket fan. There is an India-England cricket series going on. I want to see that. That'll drive my interest. Having seeing that will definitely make me take those action or think you know me. So those are the things. If you tie that hobbies, interest with world events and with who I am, you have a personalized experience for me. Competitive index. You know, people think I did a study for one of the retailers again. In competitive places where they had lots of other retailers doing the same thing, competing, high competitive index, they were able to sell certain products at a higher price than they were able to sell in a non-competitive area. Counterintuitive. We combined them, and looking at the data, we were able to analyze and then personalize the whole the experience that users got. We brought those products out in front in very competitive area during a certain time. We knew we could sell them because of the data that was collected. And that's personalization. You walk in, you can say, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. You can even do that at a store level. You don't have to do at again, it's not one-to-one personalization, but it's a personalization at that level. Local festivals. You can do that at local festivals. There's a wine festival going on in Kirkland or whatever festival are going on. You can pick those. You can personalize the experience. Traffic is a huge one. Did a pilot with one of the coffee companies where we were basically looking at the traffic pattern to figure out when to pop a coupon for somebody when they're driving and stuck in traffic. Hey, here is a store, go take an exit, take a break. Here's a coupon, get 50% off on this drink and get it. Traffic is huge. You can use that to personalize the experience for the user. Again, you can't just say go 50% off on this particular drink. You have to know what drinks that particular person likes so that it drives them to take that extra step. Again, combining your purchase data with your traffic data and other stuff that you have. So here are some examples, which we all know, personalization examples. I'm just bringing it up to see, you know, Netflix definitely does a lot of personalization on movies. Though I'm not very impressed with Netflix personalization. They spend a lot of money on creating an algorithm that can help them personalize. But again and again, I just get bored by their personalization. So I have to go figure it out on my own. I'm not sure what happened, but they do personalize. That's an experience better than, you know, no personalization. Here is Grammarly. That does personalization. It collects all the data from users to deliver weekly reports. So you can do that. Deliver the weekly usage report, which tells people something of value. Going back to the point where I said, you know, people like personalized experience if it's relevant to them, right? All this is relevant, but in this case, it's very relevant. It provides an analysis of their writing techniques. It tells them which areas to improve. So you have a very, very personalized experience here. Fitbit does that, right? Lots of companies do that today. But as a startup, you might not be thinking about those things. And that's what you have to think from get-go. Start collecting data from get-go. Believe me, it's going to be huge for you. You can learn so much by just looking at tiny bit of data. And then you have here Very, which uses weather pattern to personalize content. and it tells you exactly, hey, it's brighten up, do this, whatever. It's just personalizing that experience. It does not take a lot of effort to do this kind of personalization. It's local, weather, pop this message. If weather is this, pop this message. If weather is this, pop this message. Maybe 4 creative, and you're done. Bigger companies have bandwidth to do all sorts of creative work, so they can put these pieces together. As a startup, you might not have all the resources, but you might have enough resources, images, stock images, and enough headlines to make it personalized. Personalization gone wrong, miscategorized data. This is a huge problem for organizations. Data comes in, it gets miscategorized, something like, fall in different buckets. Maybe city contains state information, for example. Maybe the title contains the company organization, whatever that is. Miscategorized data causes problems. Not collecting all the data is another problem. As a startup, I don't expect you will be able to collect every single piece of data, but start thinking about what data makes sense. And there are some folks who are using AI. They have AI products here, right? So you need the data, and you need the clean data. It's similar to what you guys are doing in your organization, telling, hey, this data should be clean and it should be collected. Not collecting all the data. So, to have it twice, not connecting. Yeah, not connecting all the data. I've talked about this, which is data sitting in silos. You're not connecting the pieces. That's where majority of the problem lies. When you're saying, I don't want to waste somebody's time, the reason you will be wasting time is because you just did not know that they have done this. And I'll give you my example here. Yesterday, I was talking to somebody. Somebody came in, and this person signed up for my list 7 months ago. And when they signed up, she calls me and she wants to know if I can help them with XYZ. And I asked her, like, where did you find it? I didn't go in my database to see. And then as she said, yeah, check your database. She actually says, check your database. So I started looking while we were having conversation, and I could see like what she did 7 months ago, what PDF she downloaded, what was she did. And then I said, okay, yeah, you did XYZ. Like I could tell her exactly because I tracked all of that. There was a gap. She said, I also did this. And I'm like, okay, I can't tell that because that data sits in YouTube. She watched a video on YouTube that I posted. And I don't have that feed telling me this is a person. That's a gap I can't fill. Now I could have given a call to action on my YouTube, which would have said, hey, go do this on the site and download this. That would have connected the dots. I got an idea how I can connect those dots. So those are the things that you will have to figure out to how to connect all these. It does not mean I have to invest heavily in anything. I can just be creative in connecting. If she does that, then I know, okay, you watched this video on here, you did this, everything is done. Then I can have a different conversation, because as soon as I saw that information, the conversation was very different. It was more personal. We were laughing, we were talking, and it's like, it's a sales call, but that's how we connected. So that is critical. Using partial data. So you have the data, but you're not using it. That's another problem. Your email goes out. You haven't looked at everything, and partial data will cause a problem. Not segmenting, going deeper into that data to go further slice it down. So you have all the data, you're connecting, you're using everything correctly, but you are not looking from the right lens. That'll create a problem too. So you have to step back before you start to use all this information. Here is an example. Personalized ad. Google allows you to retarget, right? People came to your site, they'll allow you to retarget. I went to somebody's site, downloaded a template. Everywhere I went on web, their ad was following me, even after I had downloaded the template. I wrote a blog post about it. I sent it to their team as well. I said, you guys, this ad is gone crazy. You're spending money. People might be clicking. I don't know, or your click-through rate is going to go down, which will impact your ad cost. That means your cost per click will go up eventually, and it'll become very expensive if you don't do XYZ. You have to stop doing it. You have to tag me in a way so that the ad doesn't get wasted. Because Google is going to say, I showed your ad 3 times. He didn't click on it, or people did not click on it. Why people didn't click? Because they already downloaded the template. So Google says this ad is not working. They'll raise the price on that ad. It's not going to be same cost. And Facebook does the same thing. If you don't have engagement on those ads, the price is going to go up. So you can do personalization, but be careful how you're doing it. Also, I didn't talk about ROI here. That's another thing that you should be looking at too. And, how much cost it is to build these things. And if you're not collecting all the pieces, or you're not using the right data, then you'll be wasting all your efforts here. Okay, so moving along. For effective personalization, collect the right data, identify all data sources. Everything that I talked about is like what to do right, identify the segment, and that's when you can start to target. So now the question is, how can you start? You don't have all the tools, resources. I didn't talk about tools because there are so many tools. I'm going to talk about the tools that you can use today. You can start right away. So how can you start? You don't need any fancy tools for now, unless you are already in that path and you have the tools in place. Then you just need to figure out how to use that. But many tools are freely available, particularly Google ecosystem. There are limitations, but you can use them. So any questions so far before I go? Or Don, are we taking the questions at the very end?
You can take questions when you like. Now's a fine time.
Yeah.
If people have questions, or if people are trying to use any pieces of this, you could describe where you're getting stuck with what you're working on.
Yeah, this is Aaron. If I could get a question in, maybe you could address it along where I'm reading more and more about the role of messaging apps in marketing, and whereas that is starting to become more popular, but also the risk is, again, the privacy aspect of it. But I'd love to get a sense of what your crystal ball says, the role of messaging apps in marketing services, and the role of it, and also in the personalization and some of the issues involved with that.
Yeah, I think great question here. It all boils down to the role, where it's going. I don't have a crystal ball to say. I have mixed views about those messaging apps when they keep popping up messages, etc. However, the thing is, if you do figure out you are going to be using it, maybe people are using it and finding people who use it, find it effective. The key is to make sure those apps are not working in isolation. The data is available to them. They can pull the data. Because the problem I was talking about, even like a simple chat pop-up right here, which use IP address, it's wrong data. You cannot base off of just our IP address, because my IP address from home maps to Comcast. I don't work for Comcast, right? So that is the problem with these apps or any of these services that are using. Are they using the right type of data? There is, value in those, but if everybody starts to use them, then it becomes noise. So that's my point of view. I don't know if anybody else here is using, and how they are using, and how effective they have found. I would love to have group chime in and see if you guys are doing that.
Maybe you need to go through and do a poll on channels and see what channels people are currently using.
Yeah.
So
well, I just want to ask, here, like what my view is, no matter, technology is changing so fast, things are changing so fast. These Facebook Messenger app, the chatbots, they annoy me, and everybody is using them, right? I can't stand them. And but because they operate in just isolation, in just Facebook mode, not enough data there. If you're using something like that on your app, within your app and within your website, put all the data out. See what data they can pull in. You have behavioral data, you have CI. So the way I would start is, Use the behavioral, use the CRM data. Forget about other stuff. Maybe there is a firmographic, you're in B2B. Use that information. Even if they can't use contextual data, that's fine. I don't think many use cases you will find, and a lot of people won't find a lot of use cases with contextual data till they are sophisticated enough to start using it. The most value you will find in behavioral and your purchase or CRM data. That's where you'll find the most value for you when you're starting out. Okay, anything else? All right, I'm going to continue. If you have any other questions, let me know. So let's go an example. Website personalization. You can use on-site behavioral data, device data, referrer data, ads data, cookie, etc. to personalize web navigation, images, call to action, product, PDFs that you give, content, headlines, offers, everything. So the data that you use for website personalization is on-site behavioral data. We'll give you an example there. The device they are using, the referrer, where they are coming from. I think this is huge. When you have partnerships, I use that in certain scenarios, and ads data, which is how the ads are performing, where people are clicking on, which ads they are clicking on. That should definitely be used. If you are doing any kind of advertising, whether it's Google, Facebook ads, and you're driving people to your site, make it personalized. Personalized does not mean you have to have one-to-one personalization. Like I said, you have enough information about that user. This is where you can also bring offline CRM data into your website to create that personalized experience. The tools that I'm going to show for free has limitation, but we'll give you an idea on how to get started. Then you have email personalization. Use tag to classify and personalize. If you're small and you don't have a big, huge list, sure, this is easy to do. Otherwise, there are tools. You know, you can even use Zapier or those tools to just quickly create these tags. Who clicked on which email? And what did they do after they clicked on that email? Drive those actions and just tag them. You can upload offline data. Even if you're using a tool like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, all that stuff, you can bring offline data. Hey, here's a loyal customer. So Anil Batra, loyal, or lifetime value of this customer, what they purchase. You can put all that in the email. Then drive your email based on that information. Easy to do, but often missed step. And so I would suggest that if you're not doing, do some simple stuff. I do like tagging of people to know what they downloaded. And based on that download, I'll send them a message saying, hey, you downloaded this PDF, even if I say or not say, but this PDF, and here is the next PDF for you, or here is what you should do next. That's it. It's that simple. It's personalized. Ad personalization, you can use Facebook ads. Facebook has been having issues with the tracking and stuff, but you can still put pixel to drive people and create your list in Facebook. You have Google ads. You can combine Google Analytics data, offline data to power your Google ads. So let's say if somebody spent 30 minutes on your site, downloaded a white paper, and filled a form that gave you their information, you connect with the backend, their email address says the company that you want to target or are trying to sell to. Now you've got a list. You can go up and push it out to Google Ads to create a personalized experience for them when they do it. Now it's going to be tiny segment, but these are the kind of things you can do. So you can do all that ad personalization here. So I'm going to go into now create a show you website personalization and a tool that you can use. So personalize, you can personalize layout, headline, call to action, images, whatever you want to do. There is a tool called Google Optimize. First, before even I do that, how many of you are using web analytics tool like Google Analytics or are familiar with it? I want to see in the chat.
So everybody go to the reactions and click on raise hand if you use Google Analytics.
So use, okay. So quite, who hasn't? Actually, maybe let's flip it. Who hasn't? I've heard of it and seen people use it, but not personally, okay. Few people haven't used it. So that's where I would say start. Look at Google Marketing Platform. There is Google Analytics. There is Google Tag Manager, which allows you to put different tags on your site and control them. Then you have Google Optimize, which is a tool that allows you to experiment on your site and also allows you to create personalized experiences. And I'm going to show you that in a minute here. And then it also has Google Data Studio, which is a data visualization tool to help you create the reports to see how your website is performing or your app is performing. So you can do that with all the data that's collected. You can see people. I did a session. It's been 2 months, I think, John, and it's available on the YouTube channel on Google Analytics.
Yes.
And collecting the right data. So I did if you want to see, go ahead and see that. And at the end, I'm also going to ask you to join me in my membership here so I can teach you all the tricks of the trade there, how to use that. So and there is also Google BigQuery now, which can send the data in raw form, so you can actually see and bring other data sources into it. Then once you have that data, you can push it back to Google Analytics to take action and back to Google Ads to do personalized experiences. But Google Optimize will allow you to personalize the experience on your own site. We'll talk about that in a minute here. Okay, but free version you can only create 10 experiences. There is also a paid version, which is unlimited and has a lot of more power in the paid version. I'm going to show you the free version only today. So framework for personalization, before we go do that, you can go justification. You need to have a justification for personalization. This is where data analysis come into play. Why do we want to personalize something? What's the benefit? What are we trying to achieve? Those things have to be very clear. Otherwise, you'll create random things and those won't work. And then you'll say this does not work. In anything, even like in the data projects, data analysis project, implementing Google Analytics, I always tell people to think, what do we want to track? And why do we want to track? Is it required for you to track? What are you going to do with it? Once you have that clarity, then it becomes easy to see how these pieces fit together. What experiences to show? What are you going to show? Who to show it to, and then where on your site. So this is for website personalization. What's the justification? Hey, we just had a partnership with this company. Awesome. They're going to be sending traffic to us. I want those people, what to show? I want those people who come from this site to get 20% off on any products or services. So I'm going to show that call out. Who to show? These people who are coming from there. Where to show? Everywhere they go, or on the top of this navigation, or on the main page where they land, whatever that is. You define those so it's clear in your head what you are trying to achieve. Example here is conducted data analysis. Users are not filling the form from Contact Us button. So when you click on Contact Us, they go and fill the form. They're not doing that. So maybe that's the use case. I look at that. On mobile, I'm seeing people are not clicking. On desktop, they are clicking. So that's fine. They're coming to the site. They're not filling this. They're doing this. So mobile users are not filling Contact Us from. Desktop users are. Third party confirms. I did also research to confirm that people don't like filling forms on mobile devices. Made up use case, but whatever that is, you can figure it out. Users on mobile don't fill. This is why. This is a third-party study. So what do you do? Here's a justification. I don't want to show the phone number to everybody. When people don't have a problem in filling a form or might contact us on desktop, I don't want to show my number on desktop because calls are expensive. I did a project with an insurance company way back, and they were trying to avoid phone calls. Till a person has proven that this is, they are likely to convert. So we went through the whole online experience, creating it to a point where once they do this point, that's when we pop the phone number so that they can call in and the people can close the deal. Before that, people were phishing. They were just doing information. They didn't want to bombard their call center with phone calls. They are expensive. you provide only when required. In this case, it's pretty simple use case, which is like people are filling out mobile. So I'm going to do a phone number on mobile, not on desktop. I can do that easily with Google Optimize. Free stuff. I can just use contextual data, which is the device they're using or the operating system, whatever I can pick, and say, based on this, I am going to show this experience. So when they come from mobile, they'll see my phone number. When they don't come from mobile, they don't see my phone number. Easy, done. And mapping it back to who, what, who, and where, who, what, show phone number, who, mobile visitors, where on homepage. Done. That's how you need to map, and it's simple and easy it is to get started. You can do the same thing with email. You can do the same thing with ads. The data that you will use is different, but similar stuff. I want to send the people who came from this device or did this, I want to show this experience to them, or I want to send them this message or this PDF, or I want to have this conversation. So personalized landing pages and website based on technology, show on mobile, we covered that. Now the issue is I have a US phone number. That's further data analysis is telling me visitors from around the world, but we only have US phone numbers. They're not going to call. And even if they call, they'll get a cost in which they might get pissed off by that. So I don't want to do that. So in that case, I can use also the location data. Show phone number only on US. So that's how you build. You think about what data you will use based on the use case you're building, the issues you're going to be facing. In this case, this is clearly an issue. I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to use personalized by technology and location. That's what I'm going to do. And yeah, show phone numbers on mobile to visitors only, visitors from US only. Another use case, personalization by technology, which is in Google Optimize. You have defined if an e-commerce store that sells cell phone accessories, they can personalize the products that they are offering based on the technology used. What, where, who, and what. I did this experiment. Personalize for new and returning visitors. You can do that. E-commerce store. Goal, new customer acquisition, provide 25% off to new visitors only. You can do that. So I am going to now go into Google Optimize to show you how this is done. We have time, so we can do that. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears here, stop sharing. Any questions while I do that?
Can you go a little bit through the Google things that you said? You said Google Analytics, Tag Manager, and Optimize. I thought there was a fourth one.
So Google Analytics is that website, online website or app collection data. It collects all the information about the what users are doing on your site or app, which pages they are looking at, how much time they are spending, what actions they are taking, are they watching any videos, are they clicking on any links, exit links, etc. Google Analytics also has data that it collects on users and on other sites. So it can give you information like demographic, interest, etc. as well. So it can tell me, hey, most of the users who come to my site, I was looking at some site, and they are in the market for jobs. It clearly show like people are searching on Google for those things or visiting those sites. And it says X% of people are in the job market. X people are interested in technology. X people are for apparel or travel, whatever. So I can use that information because I know I can use that information to create my graphics, my messaging, my experience on the site that will speak to them so that it's at least personalized to those people who are majority of my people. Now, I can use that information as well to Google Tag Manager, which allows you to collect the data. You can track all sorts of things on your website using Google Tag Manager. You can put other tags as well. Then you have Google Data Studio, which is data visualization tool. And Google right now has two versions, Google Analytics and Google Analytics has two versions. old Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4. Different models, but and Google Analytics 4 is a new one, and it's very powerful, more powerful than previous one. But they both are available, so use both of them. And then you have Google Optimize. Then you have Google BigQuery. So you've got all these tools for Google Optimizes for A/B testing and personalization.
So Alexandra asked the question of, can you set up location on where your ads show in the world? She couldn't
Yes.
find where that was in Google Ads or Facebook as options.
Yeah, you can. In both of those places, location is one of the things where your ads are going to show up. I can walk you through if you want. I can have a call with you and show you exactly how to set that up.
It's just that I set up a certain location, but they still show to people outside of the United States, which is unnecessary. So I get to pay. I actually have to pay for the clicks for
Okay, so
from other countries checking out the ads. So I don't really need that, and it doesn't seem like I have an option to limit.
well, there is an option to limit. So there must be some leakage that happens. And that leakage happens is because people sometimes will disguise their location when they're using Facebook or Google. So they can change their IP address, they can disguise the location using VPN, whatever. In that scenario, it'll show up in different places. But usually they should be limiting. And sometimes what happens is when you start to set those up, it takes a while for them to limit that. I have noticed that too, but it's very, very minimal. If you're seeing a huge problem, then yes, that's something you need to tell them that this is not happening. Because location is for that. Location and time are the two that I use quite extensively. So I'm happy to take a look at that and see if there is any other issues. Maybe there is an or condition that you have set. This location or this interest. In that scenario, they'll show up in different places. So you have to use and condition. This location and this interest rather than or.
Cool. Mike has his hand up. Do you have a question, Mike?
Yeah. I think Mike had a hand up since Google Analytics, or that previous conversation we had about who knows Google Analytics or who
Fair
knows.
enough. I'll take it down. Cool. Any other questions? No.
Real quick one, it's Jeff Dika.
Yeah.
We're talking mostly about web analytics and personalization sites and personalizing your app.
Yeah.
I've got a bit different question that kind of revolves around a privacy issue. We collect a huge amount of data about a person's driving habits,
Yeah.
and locations and mannerism and so forth and so on. We're not doing anything with that. In fact, we're throwing it away right now. But what do you think are the privacy implications if we decide to actually use that data?
So if you are going to use any kind of personal data, you have to get users' consent, right?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, that's part of the, when they install our system, we have their consent to track the location and their driving habits for insurance purposes. But I'm just wondering if we can use that data to give them location specific items that might be of their that may fit in with their interest based on where they're at. Maybe they're in a different state and they're traveling and so forth, and they don't know the area. I mean, it's a whole can of worms, and I know Here's dealing with it, and Ubiquity's dealing with it, but they're dealing it with from the data provider side. We have to deal with it from the data collector side.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts are on that.
So I didn't get the question, like thoughts in using that data, whether you can use.
How do I explain this? John, you know what we're doing. Can you explain it better than I can? I don't know.
So given that he is tracking the behavior, the driving behavior of people and how they're doing, it has a lot of data about their ongoing use of the car. If they start using that to send messages to their clients, are there privacy and other things that are implied by that might cause problems?
Yeah, I'm not a legal person, so anytime we use that level of personal data, it's good to get a lawyer involved because they know, even like, when I work with companies like Microsoft and we're doing this, we always get the legal team involved in saying, is this even possible or should we even do it? Because every company is trying to navigate that carefully. Now, if the user is giving them you consent, like, and then saying, yes, you can use my data, then there is no issue with it. Issue starts to, generally what I've seen, issue starts to become when you use mainly like health and financial data, or something that's considered very, very private, not like private. Hey, I'm a male, female, I'm in this location. That's fine. I already gave you consent to use my location. And I already told you, give me personalized experience. I'm okay with that. But the moment you start to use third-party data to augment and say, hey, Anil, you make this much and you went on vacation here and that becomes a problem because I haven't given that permission. So your data, first-party data is fine. You got the access. You overlay third-party data and then start to personalize, that could be crossing the line there. And as the moment you start to do very, very PI, whatever I'm going to call it, like health, financial, that becomes a problem. But again, I'm not a lawyer. We always get a lawyer involved. I can tell you how this data can be used and what data to use. Can't tell you exactly if it's against your policies or not, or you're crossing legal boundaries.
Okay, well, thanks enough. I mean, it's just an open discussion we have every week about the privacy issues are pretty key, and recording the interior of the cabin of the car and so forth. So just kind of wondering what your thoughts were on it.
So to have things like this person regularly speeds at this point, or this person has had some really abrupt stops on their car that suggests that they hit something, but then they didn't report it. And there are consequences to knowing that information.
Yeah,
exactly.
Certainly consequences to holding on to that information when the police do a query for data from the.
Yep. Yeah. In that case, definitely a lawyer is the right answer, because you mentioned it's not like, you have that data and you're holding that data and something happens, then why didn't you notify or
Right. Well, right now we're throwing away the interior cabin video, except if an incident happens and we record a bit for the first responders. But we're throwing away just to avoid those legal aspects. But I'm sure it's definitely going to come up, and we need to be prepared for it and have a plan in place and so forth to deal with it. So.
Yeah. So I see Aaron has his hand up.
Thanks.
Yeah. Maybe, obviously, my question is very suitable for a lawyer, but I'm curious, Anil, on what your experience has been, and particularly since I'm in California, it's about the CCPA. Now, I know many companies in Europe they've already adjusted, or if they're doing business with Europe, they've already adjusted the GDPR. But Washington State, is my understanding, has passed their own equivalent. The legislature in Olympia has passed their version of CCPA, and it seems like the next 3 to 5 years, many states will be enacting a similar version. I'm kind of curious on your experience, what are you advising clients when it comes to CCPA compliance, whether or not they're operating in California or preparing for their privacy protection going forward?
Yeah, I think so. This is where actually tool vendors are being very proactive in that same things. Like we've been talking about Google Analytics, or anybody who's using those tools, or Adobe Analytics, or whatever tools that are collecting the user's information. What they are doing is they are enabling data deletion tools within those. So one is, hey, for customer, which is a cookie consent, right? Don't track me. In that scenario, we don't track those users. There are two ways clients handle it. Sometimes they'll just say, we don't want to even deal with this stuff. So if somebody says, don't track me, we just don't track anything. Others are saying they don't want us to track them with who this person is. So we're going to track anonymously what that behavior is, and we're not going to use it for targeting. Google Analytics is basically has this where you can even if there is a request for a data deletion for a user or somebody, like type of data, you can just go and delete those. What they're doing is now machine learning is coming into play and they're filling the gaps. So you still have full view of what's happening, and their machine learning or whatever techniques they're using is pretty accurate. So there are technologies that are working around that as well to give you that information. Now, it's going to affect your advertising, definitely. One is your data analysis. You can see what's happening, but you can't use that potentially. Now, for example, if I want to target some people who have put a product in their shopping cart but did not finish, I want to create a personalized experience. I need to know who those users are. Then when I push that segment over to Google Ads and let Google Ads target those people, Google might be able to fill that gap for me because my Google's code is also sitting on my computer. Their ads pixel is sitting on my computer. Even though I'm saying don't fire these things and Google knows that not to fire, they might use machine learning to fill that gap. So we're basically going with, again, you tell us this is what's happening. We can enable it both ways. I haven't seen a big issue today other than cookie consent issues with California law. It's like a data deletion, data retention things. Those are already inbuilt in these systems.
Great, thank you.
Any other thoughts?
And that is something that has come up. It has started to come up. Even like yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody. So I'm going to be actually digging deeper into how to enable these things. And maybe, John, we can do another session where I can go exactly how to do this. But the thing is, if you guys are not even collecting the data, then many people are very advanced. They are collecting because the whole business is built on data. And those whose business is not built on data, I think you should start to look into how you should collect the data, because there is a wealth of information that will come. And you might be able to pivot the whole revenue model based on that as well.
Absolutely. Any you want to go into Google Optimize and show people what it looks like?
Yeah. So I'm going to go into Google Optimize and share my screen here. Before that, I'm also going to give you, those who are interested in going deeper into data, here is something that look at this. I've given you a coupon and discounted offer here to join me. I've just posted in the chat here. So share my screen here, and I'm going to go to Google Optimize. So let's take a look at this. I am going to have a bunch of this. Which one am I going to use? I'll use this one, W6. Yeah, let's take a look at this. So I'm going to create in Google Optimize is a tool that allows you to create experiences as well as A/B testing. If you're not familiar with A/B testing, I did a session that you can also watch on Seattle Angel Conference Group. I don't know what the channel is called, John, but that same channel, you can watch that video where I did on experimentation. So you can create experiments as well as personalized experiences here in Google Optimize. So click on create experience right here, and you can pick the type of experience that you can create. So let's say I'm going to call it SAC test. And then you give your URL, whichever URL you want to create this experience. I have this site, so I'm going to give that. And you pick the type of test or experience you want to create. What these are, just quickly, you can create an A/B test. You can create a multivariate test. You can create a redirect test. If you don't know what those are, watch that video. Then you can also have personalization on your site, or you can pop up a particular banner to notify your users about something based on the criteria you choose. Similar stuff is used in all these three. I'm just going to do personalization here. So click on personalize and create. When you do that, here you can make a change to your live site. So you don't need developers to do that, designers to do that. You can just do directly here. So first I'm going to make a site change. What do I want to show? What experience do I want to show? So in this case, let's say I want to show an experience. If somebody, let's say I want to change this action, this headline, and I want to change this element, I can pick any element I want. Let's say if I want to change this element, and I want to change the text, I want to say, welcome anilbatra.com user. For example, if I have a link from anilbatra.com to this site, I want to show my users this. This is personalized, very simple experience. Like I was talking about, that's a partner. When they come, that's what they're going to see. You can give whatever you want. You can change the whole, you can even run a JavaScript right here. You can do all sorts of things when that user comes based on a certain criteria. And we'll look at the criteria that you can use. So let's say I want to change this. And I click on done and save and done. Now, if you go directly to my site right here, I'm going to do new incognito window. You see a regular message.
No, we're not seeing your incognito.
Oh, you're not? Okay. New share. Why? It's in the same browser. Okay. This message, right? It's the regular message.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to go back to Google Optimize and change this so that you can start to see when somebody comes from somewhere else, it should show another one. So let me go back to Optimize. Okay, share. And what happened to my screen here? Hold on. Okay. All right. So you see that now? So I created that experience, which is the one I created here. Welcome Anil Batra users. But that is the experience I want to show. I want to show that experience to a certain set of users, subgroup, subsection, whatever you want to call. That's where I match the audience targeting. Who do I want to target this experience to? So I click on customize, and here are the different criteria that I can use. I can show a personalized experience based on the Google Ads, campaigns, group, keywords. So if somebody's coming from a particular ad, I can show them that message. So let's say if I have a message which says, get 50% off, or download this white paper, or hey, new selection, whatever that ad is, I can map the experience to that ad. So I don't have to do different landing pages. I can just drive them to directly one landing page and just change the experience. That's one. UTM parameters are the way Google passes campaign information. So if I'm sending a newsletter, if I'm posting a link on social media, that's not an ad. I can pass certain parameters, which are query parameters, and I can then change the experience based on where the user is coming from. So if I post something on Twitter, maybe I want to give them something else than somebody who's coming from Facebook. I can do that. Device category, what people are using. Maybe there is a different option you want to give them. Target, returning versus new, or from specific referrers. So in this case, I'm going to do a specific referrer. So I'm going to click here, behavior, and I want to give a page referrer contains anilbatra.com. So somebody who lands on this site from anilbatra.com will see that message. I can change the whole page layout if I want. I'm going to go add that. But I'm going to also show you other criteria here. So let's do plus add rule. So you can see what's possible. You can do geography. You can do visitors using a specific device. You can do query parameters that you can pass. So if somebody comes from, let's say you're sending somebody, you're classifying your customer as loyal, not loyal, frequent buyer, whatever, you can pass in query parameter values, say 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know 1 means loyal, 2 means not so loyal, 3 means frequent buyers, whatever. You can then use that to create personalized experience. You can even use data layer variables. If you're not familiar with data layer variables, that's a whole different conversation. JavaScript variables are the variables that are within your JavaScript code sitting on your page. You can use cookies. You can use custom JavaScripts to pull data via APIs and stuff, which will return the value. So you can do that as well. There is also Google Analytics Audience. This is only for paid customers. This is where you can create complex segments within your Google Analytics. So let's say if I want to target people who have viewed 5 pages and have purchased from me and are returning after 3 months on my site and did this or did this, whatever criteria is, I can create a personalized experience for them. But that requires payment to Google. So these are the different ways you can get started. So I'm going to do for behavior, as I showed you. If somebody comes from anilbatra.com, I want to show them that experience. Then I have connected my Google Analytics so I can see how my performance is working. And installation, it says verified with errors. This is kind of funky. I tested it last night. It was working, I think. Or maybe just checked it again today. So once you're done, you go ahead and click on start. Oh, what happened here? Check installation. Maybe it did remove it. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually create the same experience in another one. Google Optimize. Seems like the code got removed here. Any questions while I'm doing this? Any questions you have?
Often people who get to this state, you use the words and move your hands like this. You can do whatever you want, but they have a hard time taking the general idea of these changes and turning them into useful recipes that change their conversion rates and change their sales rates.
Yeah.
How do build the muscles to regularly improve things so that this builds flow and improves their revenue? I mean,
yeah.
Which one of the 5,000 steps that I just saw are ones that I should take action on?
I would suggest is this: go back to the board where I said, why personalize? Think about that model that I talked about. Okay, we need to personalize this. Maybe it's 5 segments, maybe it's 10 segments, maybe it's particular setup. You know, one-to-one personalization that Bob was talking about. I think Bob was talking about earlier. Requires a lot of data processing. Most of the companies are not at that point, definitely, right? So for you, if you're just starting out, I would say go back, say, hey, this is cool. I have this segment of audience. We're targeting everybody. We're sending these things. I want to find out the people that I have to send to targeted. I've isolated them. I'm sending them a message via Facebook, via email, or whatever channel. You pick where. And I'm going to send them this URL. I want to create a personalized experience for them. Pick those segments, 1, 2, 3, and then pass in a query parameter to the message you send them. So when you send them a URL saying, go to my site, for example, academy.optizen.com, ? And I can call it seg is equal to loyal. I'm making this up. You won't make that obvious, right? You just, this segment loyal. Start there. I want to show these customers a particular message. So that's where I will start for. Then you go in Google Optimize, and then you can create an experience, because I think this is the right one, is where you create an experience. You say, I'm going to personalize, test, personalize, create, and make your change. I want to show them, hey, loyal customers, do this. I would start with that simple step. And then target based on this query parameter. That's it. Then you can put this, rather than sending you people here, you just send them here and they start to see personalized experience. Maybe there is another set of customer, which is regular, something like that. So they receive that message. Now you are showing a different message to them. And see, then since you're connecting Google Analytics, it's telling you which segment is performing and taking the action that you desire them to take. That helps you narrow down your audience. Say, this will take action, these won't. So 5 steps, 3 or 4 of them are what to target, who to target, what, and then creating this 4, 5, whatever. That's it. And I'm always happy to help people move forward, progress forward. Like I said, I posted a link where they can go in and then they can learn step by step everything, like all the tools, technologies used, required there. So
maybe it would be worth for us putting together a jam session where people
can come in and
do an overview of here's the recipe, and then we sit down and just do it on a website and everybody does it together.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
See if this will work. I think that code got changed last night, so I'm trying to see if this will work. If it doesn't work, we can definitely do a session where I can walk people through. Because last night I was changing the Google optimized code. Yeah, optimized installation. Yeah, verified with no errors. So this is fine. I think this will match. I can do, let's say I just do a query parameter. Maybe that'll work. And enter URL. And I am going to, not this one. I am going to use this. Check. And what happened here? A variable, create new, query parameter is nope, still not working here. All right, I'll have to check here. I think it's not. I'm gonna resort to my other one. Something is wrong here. I'm gonna just do the where is that behavior from a referrer. I think I tested that one worked. And anilbatra.com. And I think I can start this one. See, yep, start. Okay, so this is starting now. I am going to go into, let's see if I go here. What the hell is going on?
I don't know, but live demos are always troublesome. So
I'm going to proceed to anilbatra.com. What? Somebody stole my thing? It was working last night. All right, I'm going to do another one, maybe. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change it. Oh, it's live now. And make a copy. You know, I tested this last night. Everything was working. Why is my domain not working? That's weird. Something happened here. So I'm going to do is digital.
Let's bag it and call it good. And then we'll do a jam session, schedule a jam session to go through. And
well, let's try this one. Maybe this will work.
All right.
All right. Give me 1 more minute here.
1 more minute.
.org. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay, so let's say if I do here and save it. And start. What? Okay, maybe. All right, now I'm gonna go here on their site. And events, the essential, SQL, for marketing analytics, and here. Welcome DA member. That was the old experience that I had created if they were there. Should actually be enough, but that's what will happen. I think there is an old experience that's running.
Yep. Makes sense.
So this is how you can do it. It flickered too, if you saw, but there is an anti-flicker code that I can put in so that it doesn't flicker. But this is where you can start to personalize. You can even do the whole page here. We can do another session to go and change element where people can bring in their site and say, I want to do this. And then let's set them, go through that recipe.
Yeah. Glad to do that. We'll put something together in the fall. Elizabeth is asking for your contact information in the chat. You could put it in there. That would be great.
Yeah. So people can read me here. I'm going to give my personal one. And I posted right here, those who are interested, really going deeper and learning step by step, here is a link again. And join me.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you diving into this. I think that there's an ongoing question by several groups about where they should be storing the data. And the data currently is sitting in Excel or Google Sheets and has all sorts of warts on it. And they want to go to the next level. What direction should they go in terms of having the 100 data items for each user?
Yeah, so I would say is the best place is to put in a database because it's faster as you grow. There will be more processing power there for you. Since Google Analytics sends the data over to BigQuery, and there is a direct integration with the new version of Google BigQuery, you can do all sorts of advanced analytics later on to drive that experiences or whatever you want to learn. I would say BigQuery might be something to look into, but it can get expensive too. There is a free, I think for most of you, free version is gonna work. But keep an eye on that and they'll notify you if you're going over. The cost comes into play when you're using it very excessively every day, which you guys won't be. It's for little bit processing. You put your records there, you have your Google Analytics data. I can help you connect the pieces so you know exactly, hey, John is the person who did these activities on your site. You can connect those and then you can power your marketing off of that, whether it's email marketing, whether it's website marketing, whether it's ads, you can do that. So you have all the attributes about John and then you have all the activities for John. You can bring in email, which emails John clicked on, etc., and which emails did not, what worked for him, all that, combine that. And a database is the natural place, which is BigQuery. You can even do in MySQL or SQL Server, pick yours, but BigQuery, because then you don't have to worry about Google Analytics integration.
Cool. All right.
And we can do another session. I keep signing myself up for so many other sessions, but yeah.
No, that's fine. We're doing hundreds a year, so this is fine. I don't see your contact information in the chat. I want to get that.
Oh, maybe it's a direct message. Okay. Okay, everyone. I'm not sure why it was going to Elizabeth only.
Every time someone sends you a note, it changes where it goes.
Okay. Here is my information, and I put in my LinkedIn up on top as well. So let me just copy that.
Cool.
Here it is.
Thanks for coming. Next Tuesday is the David Parker 14 revenue models conversation. I think that's going to be exceptional. Let me urge you to come and to invite others to come to that. And if there are topics you'd like to be seeing in our sessions in October, end of September, early October, I'm starting to plan those now. And drop me a note. And if you have questions about Seattle Angel Conference, please drop me a note as well. Thanks for coming.
All right, bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.